Well, hello everybody, and today it's a surreal day for me. Actually, it's my last day at my current job. It's been a long time that I've been with this company. I've been here, my entire nursing career has been with this company, and I guess it doesn't hurt to mention who it is now. A lot of people actually already know where I work. I work at MedStar Health in the DC area. I actually work at Washington Hospital Center. I started my nursing career here when I was 27. It was in 2010. I graduated nursing school and came here for the beginning of my nursing endeavor, and I was originally an emergency department nurse. I moved from the emergency department to the ICU after a couple of years. I moved from the ICU away from the bedside and into actually clinical informatics, which is where I am now, but we'll get there in a minute. I was in clinical informatics for a while. It was during one of our major rollouts for our electronic health record upgrade. When I started here in the emergency department, we were completely on paper for the most part. We had some electronic things, but it was for the most part paper documentation still. And in 2010, that was, I can't say unheard of, but it was not exactly normal. And for those who don't know, nursing is my second career. I have a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and a master's in IT, and I worked in the IT field for a couple of years before realizing that I didn't want to work an office life for the rest of my life. And I know it's kind of ironic because that's kind of where I rolled back to, but it's still slightly different. I'm gonna take this off. Even though it's my last day, I'm still actually like on meetings, and I've got multiple meetings set up for the day. I've got some knowledge transfer that's still going on and things like that. So hey, keep in mind, if you ever leave a job, leave it appropriately. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure all the loose ends are tied up. All knowledge transfer is done. Like one of the things that in my current role, I'm in charge of things like payroll, and I want to make sure that payroll gets transferred off appropriately. I have a meeting with the person who's going to be taking over as the interim to make sure we get payroll for the employees this week that are under me, so that there's no lapse in their pay and things like that. So it's always nice. Don't burn any bridges when you leave the place. I love this place. I would never want to burn any bridges here, but no matter what, even if you completely hate your employer or completely hate what you're doing, you still always want to leave with a good record. Not only are they going to be a reference for you for the rest of your life and the rest of your career, they're going to see that on your resume and hope that if they're going to make a reference call, you hope that that's a good reference call, for one, but it always offers you the opportunity to come back, for one, and for two, it is being a professional. It's being, a good person, is to make sure that, things are done appropriately and as seamlessly as possible. Because whether you like or dislike your job, other people work here, and what you do is going to affect them when you leave, especially if you're in a position of power like I am. So back to the career trajectory that I've had so far, I was in the informatics department for this go live, and I again realized I am not ready to be away from the bedside. I love bedside nursing. I love taking care of patients. I love that aspect of life. I'm not nearly as big of a fan as the ICU as I am the emergency department. I love emergency department nursing. My whole goal when I went to nursing was to be an ER trauma nurse, eventually get to be flight nursing. To do that in this area, I know other areas are different, but in the Washington, D.C. area, especially with my facility, which is one of the bigger ones for the trauma and flight nursing and things like that, you have to have 2 years of ICU experience, and they don't consider emergency department ICU experience. So that's why I originally made the change from emergency department to ICU, is because I was really trying to make sure I had that experience in and at the ready, and I was going to be there to be able to get into trauma and get into flight nursing. I only did about a year and a half of the ICU before I came over into informatics, because I really did not enjoy ICU nursing. I'm an okay ICU nurse. I'm a great ER nurse, in my opinion. This is all in my opinion, but I feel like I'm a great ER nurse. I'm an okay ICU nurse. And I just couldn't do the 2 years. There happened to be an opening in informatics. I was finishing my master's in nursing informatics at the time, and it was just the perfect opportunity to move. They also needed somebody in this department at that time who was going to be able to help implement the electronic health record with an emergency department background. They needed an emergency department subject matter expert, and they didn't have one. And while I was a nurse in the emergency department, they actually put me on the team that was helping build the EHR that we would eventually have implemented. And so I was the perfect fit for that position. It was almost like it was written for me, and it wasn't. I coincidentally was the one who applied, and they were like, wow, this is exactly who we wanted to apply. We just didn't realize that somebody with that experience and this level of already coming in with a level of knowledge about the implementation was going to be here. So I was in informatics with the emergency department subject matter expert title, essentially, for that rollout and implementation for about 1.5 years, close to 2 years. And when that all got settled down, not only near the end of that was there a RIF, they call it. It's a reduction in workforce, because basically the funding was not good at the time. They had to cut a lot of positions. So they actually ripped some people in my department at the time. At the time I asked them, I said, knowing I wanted to go back to the bedside, I said, you might as well riff me and I will transition back over. But they actually didn't want to lose me, and they told me that we're not going to riff you. I think part of it was because there's severance packages and things like that involved, and they knew that I was sticking around. Even if I left the informatics department, I was going to stick around the company. So you don't want to rip somebody, give them a severance package, and then have them then just transfer over somewhere else with the severance package as well. Is probably part of it. I don't know. That's just me speculating, but I have no idea. But I went back to the bedside after doing the informatics for a while. And I ended up getting luckily into this very special role, knowing I needed at least 6 more months of experience in the ICU to get to where I really wanted to go, which was trauma and flight nursing. I went back to the ICU officially and worked out something with the managers there, between them and the emergency department, where they allowed me to work 6-week schedules as a test subject to, I'm skilled in both, I'm trained in both, I'm allowed to work in both. They'll put me on a 6-week schedule, because our nursing schedules were 6 weeks at a time, a 6-week schedule in the ICU, and then I can do a 6-week schedule in the emergency department. 6-week schedule in the ICU, 6-week schedule in the emergency department. And I could do that, and they gave a stipulation. They said, as long as you do this for at least a year, 6 weeks back and forth, we'll grant this to you, because you'll kind of test out this position to see if it would work. And what we can look at in the future is hiring 2 people onto one position between the 2 departments, or 2 positions, 1 in each department. And those people would swap back and forth. So you'd always have a full-time employee in one place or the other. It's just 2 different bodies. Strangely, I did that for 1.5 years, and it was fantastic. It was the best of both worlds, in my opinion. As much as I love emergency department nursing, you can still get overwhelmed by it, especially now. I can't even imagine working during the times of COVID. Like, I worked during the time when Ebola was becoming a big, scary thing. And granted, we had like 1 or 2 possible Ebola patients that came through. None of them turned out to actually be Ebola patients here in our area, but we had to do the whole quarantines and all that stuff with them. But we had, like I said, 2 the whole time. COVID's a whole different animal, and I can't even imagine how overwhelming it can be in some of those areas, both ED and ICU right now, given the COVID circumstances. But no matter what, you can get very just overwhelmed in general. And sometimes it's just, it becomes monotonous. People look at emergency department nursing and think that you're always getting these crazy, like, hardcore people are crashing, walking in the door. It happens, yes. It doesn't happen nearly as frequently as your standard abdominal pain, chest pain. I slipped and injured my foot, I need help. That you get a lot of that stuff. You get a lot of monotony in what you do. So you can even get very kind of just quote unquote bored with that after a while. And the ICU, it's the same thing. Is by the time you get kind of, okay, I've done like my 6 weeks in the ICU. At the end of the 6 weeks, I've been on my 4th night shift in a row. I'm giving my 4th bed back this week to the same 2 patients. You just want a change. So the 6 weeks on and off was fantastic. It was great. It was like I felt so more energized than I ever had, because I'd get done with one, or I'd get kind of sick of doing one for a little bit and want a little bit of a break, and it was just a break to go to the other side. It was awesome. But for some reason, even after I did that, I think they kind of forgot that I was on this trial, because after a year, I kept asking the boss, hey, check it out. Can we like evaluate this, see if we can implement it for other people who want to do this? Because you get a lot of people in the emergency department who say, Jeff, we want to move to the ICU like you did, and especially with this schedule that you have, what can we do? So I was really hoping they'd implement something, and it never panned out. I think it's just hard. This hospital is huge. My facility is a 900 and I think we were a 923 bed facility. I think we're down to 919 or something like that licensed beds in the hospital, because they've converted a lot of doubles to singles, and they've opened up other units. So I think it's 913. I have to look at the official numbers, but we're a large facility. We have 5 different ICUs, a massive emergency department, and our emergency department is separated from our trauma emergency department. So MedStar Trauma is something completely different than the ER. There's 2 different sets of staff that work there, and a lot of people who come into our ER to work, they're really wanting to be in trauma, and they don't realize that they're separated. So it's kind of a thing. It's based on the Johns Hopkins model of trauma. So it just different hospitals do it differently, and this one happens to be one of those ones where it's separated. So I did that for quite a long time, and I actually never really planned on not doing that because I really liked what I did. Well, not doing bedside nursing, I should say. I was going to move from that. Once I got my requisite experience in for the ICU, I wanted to move over to trauma. And it was funny because as I was starting to put in my applications to get to the trauma department to start progressing that career up to flight nursing, somebody happened to come up to me and say, "Hey, you heard that the informatics director is leaving, and you should look at that job." I was like, I don't know if I really want to go back to the office side, away from the bedside, but I'll have to think about it. And I figured, you know what, these jobs don't come around very often. I'll throw in my application. I probably don't have the right experience yet with it. I've only been in the informatics department for like a year and a half. Granted, I do have a nice IT background on me as well. And I applied and went through the process and ultimately got offered the job. And I had to really sit and think, like, do I want to leave the bedside again? Do I want to kind of put on hold or potentially stop my career progression into flight nursing and trauma and things like that? And it really, at that point, came down to me to say, hey, look, I have a bedside nursing job. If I go there and I dislike being back in the informatics department, being the director, being in charge of that entire department, if I don't like it, I can always go back to bedside nursing. There's always bedside nursing opportunities. And I thought about it and I'm like, wow, the title, like, this is really resume building. This is really career projection, just in a different way than I thought it was going to be. And I really had to think about it and say, these jobs just do not come around that much. There's only one informatics director, if that, per hospital. There's 4 to 10 informaticists per hospital, depending on how big your facility is. So those jobs are even hard to get, let alone the director of the department. And so I had to say, look, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take this job and kind of see how I can do, see how I can thrive, survive, and see if this is what I want to do. That was over 5 years ago now. I absolutely love what I do. I love who I work with. My team is the best team you could have ever asked for. It wasn't always like that. I kind of came into a team when it was struggling a little bit. One of the reasons I found out later that they put me in this job role is they thought that I had, of all the candidates, they thought I had the strongest possibility of really like getting the team back in shape and back building it up to what it really needed to be. And I feel, and I've been told in all of my evaluations and things like that, and especially now that I'm leaving, I've been told that I was extremely successful in doing that and that I fulfilled exactly what they wanted me to in this job, plus a lot more, which is good. It makes me feel good. And I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but it's just really hard to leave this place. I love it. I love the organization. I love my team. Granted, I don't always agree with everything. You've probably heard me rant before about some things I didn't like that were going on. I think everybody deals with that in their own job. Nothing is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I really do love this organization. I love my team. I love my team at the system level. Like, so I am over 7 people here at my particular facility, but I have colleagues at we have 10 hospitals within my organization, and we have to interface with everybody on a regular basis. So I'm interfacing with the entire nursing informatics team system-wide, and the whole team is just like phenomenal. The whole IS team, like information services team, is phenomenal. Everybody I have to interface with. I've had very, very few bad experiences with people here, and that is something not a lot of people can say. I would stay here for the rest of my professional career if nothing else was along. There's no reason I'm just quitting because I just couldn't take it anymore. The only reason I'm quitting is because I happened to come across, and I was actually sent to me from a former employee of mine who went off to a different organization where a very high level position was open, and she literally sent me an email and it had a link in it, and she said, "Come be my boss." And it was a link to the job posting. And granted, it took a little bit because I will tell you, it's a government job, so it's a little bit different than getting into the private sector. It took a while, but long story short, I will be leaving my job today to start at that job on Monday. And it's, like I said, it's surreal because I've spent my entire nursing career here. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to see not only where I can help the next organization, but where the next organization can help me advance in my professional career. And I just hope it's as wonderful of an experience as I've had here, because now I'm in the position where before I took this job with the concept of I can always go back to the bedside. There's always bedside jobs, which I always could do. I could always go back to the bedside. However, my job will be filled. They already posted my position. We've already got 6 candidates that I've already even looked through their resumes, made my suggestions. Somebody from my team is one of them, who's going to be taking over as the intern for a while. So I'm gunning for her. But there's other great candidates in the mix there too. But long story short on that is, if I go to this other position and don't like it, I can't come back. My job's going to be filled. So it's a little scary. Starting something new is always scary, but I am definitely up for the challenge, and hopefully it is going to be as wonderful of an experience as I've had here. But last day, like I said, I'm on a meeting now that I'm not really listening to. This one is more long-term stuff that me leaving today is less important, but I've got 2 big knowledge transfer meetings in the afternoon that I am leading, because I have to make sure the right people are in the right place with the right information to be able to continue on these projects and things like that. So it's still going to be a busy day for me, which is, typical. It's what it is. It's just going in like a normal day. A lot of people are like, hey, are you going to leave early on your last day? And no, I'm probably going to be here late, because I'm just going to make sure everything is all taken care of when I go. For those who haven't seen, let me switch this around a little bit. And wrong button. Nope, I'm hitting the button to take a picture. Oh, I guess I can't. I'm gonna stop the video, and I'm gonna turn the camera around so you guys can actually see the office. So here we are in the office. This is the door. I'll show you the hallway and stuff in a little bit. I have been lucky enough where I have this giant office. It is fantastic. Those are just a bunch of empty boxes I'm going to take out of here because I'm still in the middle of a move. This bookshelf, it's funny because it is filled with old manuals and things like that from old systems. And I was told when I started here not to just throw everything away because it might be needed at some point. I don't think I've touched anything on this shelf in the past 5 years. So at this point, the person who takes over for me can probably go ahead and get rid of pretty much everything on there. But I have a place for little meetings. I have a bunch of chairs on the side. I have storage galore. I mean, this is like the most massive office in the world. I have this giant window over here, which is just great. Not the greatest view, but I mean, it is still so wonderful to have a place that I have to sit in most of my day when I'm in the office. There's our COVID testing tent down there. And that's the VA hospital. Now that you guys can know where I'm at, there's the VA hospital. National Rehabilitation Center is over that way. You can't really see it, but over around the corner, Children's Hospital is like right there. There's a bunch of hospitals all on this exact same campus. But here's my giant desk, trying to make sure if anything gets shown, it's not anything blurry. Here's my lunch. I'm on a no-carb diet, so it's pork rinds. It's not really my lunch. It's my snack for lunch. But yeah, this is something that's definitely hard to leave because it is so large and so massive. It is wonderful to have such a good space. And I know in my new job, I saw my office at one of my interviews, and it's like in the middle of the building. There's no windows. It's smaller. It's nice that I still have an office. Don't trust me, I'm not complaining, but I've been kind of what's the word? I've had this wonderful place for the last 5 years, and it's going to be hard to give this up because I just have all the space in the world I can do anything with. This is a little bit of bragging, but at the same time, it's a short-lived bragging because I'm going somewhere where I don't have this anymore. I'll tell you, it is almost 1 o'clock. I've got 2 more knowledge transfer meetings today before I'm finished. I'm going down the stairs from the 6th floor where my office was at, going to Panera for the last time here. We actually have a Panera on the site, which I very rarely eat at. Panera's okay, but they participate in the coffee subscription program. So if you guys have a Panera near you, especially if it's at your work site, $8.99 a month for free cup of coffee every 2 hours you can get them. I take full advantage of that. So going for one last time, I'm gonna have to cancel the subscription because I don't have a Panera anywhere else near me, but I have definitely drank my Panera's worth. So let me go get that coffee. Here it is, the last coffee from this coffee subscription at my current job. And yeah, I have to go from the inside to the outside whenever I go get this coffee, but it's okay, it's worth it. Well, I know to you guys it was a blink of an eye, but it is a couple hours later now. It is after what time is it? After 2 o'clock. I could leave. I have everything now finally wrapped up. I had my last two my knowledge transfer meetings. Got all the information out there. I am theoretically all loose ends tied up and I'm ready to go. But I'm going to stick around for another hour and a half or so, not just to stick around, but in case anybody wants to stop by, say goodbye, and kind of bask in the wonderment of this office for just a little bit longer before I say goodbye to it all. And it's interesting. It's actually quite emotional. I know a lot of people have had jobs that they've left and are like, why would leaving a job? It's no big deal, and some people out there probably have jobs that you left that you've had the same thing. Sometimes you get really attached to, the people, the workplace. It doesn't have to be all of it. It can be just some of it that people get upset with. I've left many jobs before that I did not miss the job in the least. I was so ready to leave the job, but the people are what I really missed and knew I would miss. And I'm sure many people have been in that case, but think of this position for me is the people and the job and the organization are all great. I really truly do have second thoughts about leaving, but it's such a promotion and career growing potential for me that I can't pass this up. And I've heard nothing but good things about the place that I'm going to. There's a lot of people from here. It was a former employee, like I said, of mine, who said, hey, come be my boss. She's been there for 4 years now. Or just less than 4 years now, and she loves it. And there's a couple other people that have come from our hospital over there that still love it. And there's a couple people that have come from there to our hospital that have said nothing but good things about that job. This was just their career path promotion, went from there to here in a different field. Mine just happens to be from here to there. So, yeah, I mean, it's emotional. It's but it's nice. It's nice. I don't know. It's hard to express in words all of the real emotions that are coming through, but sit back and relax for the next couple hours and drive out of here for the last time as an employee of MedStar Health. And my last Panera. Well, all good things must come to an end. Right now, I walk out my office door for the last time. MedStar, it's been great. People I've been working with, it's been great, and best of luck to everybody. Come on, really? Think I was gonna leave my camera here? I have to get it somehow, but pretty dramatic, right? Anyways, but it's been great, and good luck to everybody. And it's been wonderful.